Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
Welcome to this week's edition of Stay Off My Lawn. We are starting off just perfectly. It's January 2nd, 2024, episode 50. Brand new year of making fun of politicians and the things they say, which is our favorite things. That should be our tagline.
We do that? Really?
Making fun of politicians and having a good time or something. I mean, there's a tagline in there somewhere.
That's right. We never laugh on this show. That is a misnomer that we are informatively funny. So just pay attention.
I think people do have the people think conservatives are no fun, but I can attest to you. I can be very fun, as much fun as a white person can be. I mean,
that's right. We're too wild and the crazy guys. Sorry, I don't know where that came from.
That came from Steve Martin and who is the
Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd. Yeah. Gosh, back when Saturday Night Live was actually funny. New Year's resolutions. We got to talk about this. And we were talking off the air. That a friend of mine from high school, she actually posted this. Like, I don't make any New Year's resolutions after last year because I vowed to at the beginning of 2023 to lose 20 pounds. And so far, and this was the last week of December, she goes, and so far I've got 30 more to go. So, I mean, she's just not making any more resolutions. I don't blame you at all. I think Joe was asked about, Uncle Joe was asked about resolutions the other day, and he said to be around for another year, to be around next year. And this was in January 1st. So does that mean that he just wants to stay alive another year? I think these are questions inquiring minds want to know.
Well, yeah, I think he wants to still pretend to be president.
Maybe that
might be one of the things that he's doing that wants to do. But somebody was talking about the polls, and they're going, how is it he's even within 4 points? His numbers are horrible, and even the Democrats are going, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
We got to do better than this.
It's a good question, but I mean, what are they going to do? And I still don't believe in the Greasy Gavin thing. That I don't think that the Democratic Party, for what they stand for, it's all about people of color. It's all about your gender. It's all about things that you were born with that really shouldn't matter. Qualifications don't necessarily matter. So I really find it hard to believe that they're going to leapfrog over Kamala to go to Greasy Gavin, which I think would probably be a smart move, but because I don't think Kamala is presidential material, and that has nothing to do with her gender or skin color, just to get that cleared. But I don't think Gavin's much of a presidential candidate either. But I mean,
people are looking at California going, if you're so good, why have you lost now they're upwards of over 1 million people? And that's just people. That isn't all the businesses that they've lost that have said, oh, hell no, and booked it.
Yeah, especially in the cities. Yeah.
Yeah. And which is, they don't have the fun. Pretty soon they're starting to run out of other people's money.
Mm-hmm.
And now he wants to give 700,000 illegal immigrants, come to our state. If you can make it here, we'll give you health care. Okay, well, that'll bankrupt the system in a short period.
And I don't know if it was California, but one state said that they were going to fast track to where the illegal immigrants are going to have the right to vote. It's being
New York is
New York?
planning that already. Yeah.
Yep. Wonderful. I think that's
yes, another new year of what the hell are you thinking?
but that's what keeps us going. These kind of wisdom nugget things that these politicians spew, and spew is the exact word I wanted to use in case you were wondering.
Yes. We had a wonderful holiday. Hope yours was good. And before I forget, a friend of the show who listens on a real regular basis sent me a note the other day. This is thanks to Fred in Boise. He said, episode 49, ... was outstanding. I don't know if that says anything about us not being there, and he liked it. He really enjoyed the radio show that we did with the group, my friend Irma. He just thought it was great. He said it was just a perfect thing to have between Christmas and New Year's. So.
Yeah, well, good.
It was nice to get a compliment.
I was hoping it didn't mean I should be outstanding in the hall away from the microphone. But I'm thinking that I'm going to take it positively. No, it kind of wrapped up nicely, and it was short. And the my friend Irma thing, every time somebody actually listens all the way through, they are it's very complimentary because it really turned out well. And Richard was the director. I don't think we've said that before, but Richard was the director of it. Was sort of like herding cats. It was a kind of a.
There were times where stop, everybody. Wait, we're going to try to do this a second time. Stop talking to each other.
It was a crazy time. It was. We had people eating. It was really fun. Turn off your microphone when you're eating the granola bar, please. But yeah, it was funny. It was funny.
Shoot.
Anyway,
it was fun. So I enjoyed doing it, and everybody all had the same mindset. We were going to do a good show, and that's what they wanted. And boy, everybody got serious when it's like, okay, this one is the one we're going to use. And man, the performances and didn't have to herd cats.
Nope.
It was nice. Everybody was focused on doing the best they could for that. So
exactly.
It was really awesome. So.
I think that was a lot of it. Everybody hit their marks. They paid attention when everybody else was talking. They knew what the context was. I mean, everything was, it was very professionally done. I mean, whether it sounded that way on your end or not, but I mean, when as we were doing it, I mean, I think it was fantastic. So I agree.
We had fun. It was wonderful holidays. Spent about half of Christmas Day visiting with my girls that are scattered all over the place and talking to them. And my young grandson, who I introduced to how a proper steak should be cooked and eaten this last summer when we went to a memorial and they came out west. We were talking to him before Christmas, and he said, yeah, I've had one steak, but it was dry. He was really bummed and disappointed. So the wife, we figured we didn't know what we were going to get him. And she goes, I'm going to get that boy a steak. So she goes and starts looking at what steakhouses there are in Virginia Beach. And so they have Texas Roadhouse, so we gave them a big gift certificate. They came online. The first thing he says, thanks a lot. We're going to get a steak, and everybody's going to order it medium rare with their going with me. He says.
That's awesome.
That was what he was most excited about, not the gift certificates to go get some more games for one of their program things that they have. Nope, the steak was number one on his list.
How old was he? Is he again? How old is he?
He will be 10 next month.
I didn't have that kind of passion about steaks until I was in my 30s. That's just incredible. Oh, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, he had that medium rare steak, and I had forgot to ask him before, but I said, obviously you remember how to order it. He goes, that's right. Medium rare is the only way to go.
And yes.
I started because my son-in-law wants it to look just the same color as shoe leather.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There is always, you go out to eat with another couple and they order steak, and it's like, there was one couple that we went out with and they both ordered well done. And I had actually never heard those words come out of somebody's mouth at a steakhouse, honestly. And I remember, I just looked at Barbara, I go, do we still like these people? I don't think that's right at all. Oh my gosh.
We had some relative friends, leave it at that. And we went over, and at the time they had a Kobe beef for two. It was a wonderful meal, and most of the time it was extremely tender and really good. And that's what he ordered was medium well.
Oh,
So it was almost well done, but not quite. And she just flat told him, she goes, "I'm sorry, we won't cook it any more than medium."
did she really?
Yes,
Wow.
they told him, "We will not cook this any more than medium."
Well, the thing is, you can't fix it if it's overdone. I mean, because I
Yeah.
think people think they want medium well, but they don't really understand that medium well is like you need to get new teeth for it.
Yeah.
I
We
don't know.
went to the same place on Fridays and Saturdays. They have prime rib. Oh my God, the prime rib we had this last time it's been close to a month ago, I guess, something like that, 1st of December. Oh, it just my buddy and I both said medium rare, and if it's rare, we're fine with that. We won't send it back. She had rare deals stuck in them
Oh,
when they came out. She just got us rare. You could almost cut it with a fork. It was so tender, melt in your mouth. Oh my
when it's that
Lord, it was
tender and you got the
delicious.
right au jus it's on top of it,
Oh,
yeah,
and it was.
fantastic. Yeah.
Oh,
It's hard to find good prime rib around here. I don't remember the last time I've even seen it on the menu. I don't think Texas Roadhouse has it. I know Outback doesn't have it. I don't even know where you'd find it anymore. And
yeah,
maybe
it's getting
maybe
harder to find. A lot of time, it's independents that do it, like
yeah,
on Friday and Saturday nights.
yeah,
That's it. Wow,
interesting.
we visited way too much, but I had wonderful holidays. Hopefully, yours
Yeah,
were
I
good
did
as
too. I
well.
did
I
too.
I worked yesterday on New Year's Day.
Aw. Yeah.
Oh, I went to the senior center home.
Oh
I'm kind
yeah,
of their
yeah, yeah.
holiday buddy, and I get given a presentation to do what else and add to it and whatever. So that was kind of fun. It was extremely quiet. I feel bad when it's holidays and they don't have family local or whatever, and
Yeah.
that's just where they live. It's kind of like a dorm room that they can go out into the quad, if you will, and hang out and watch TV or whatever.
I talk to my aunt once in a while. She calls me a couple of times a year, and she's in her 90s. And I don't think her son really visits very often. I think she kind of looks forward to and I think it was last week. It might have been 2 weeks ago. It was right before Christmas. She tried to call while we were recording our podcast, so I put it off and I forgot. So yeah, so I had to call her back, and we don't talk very long, but it's like, and the arthritis has really gotten to her, and she sounds depressed, and it's just, I hate that she doesn't get visitors, but I think that her son is the only person left in her life, and I think he's a little bit caught up in his own life, and I just hate that. I mean, everybody gets caught up in their own life once in a while, but I just hate that she's lonely. But she's in another state, so I haven't seen her since I got married. As a matter of fact, she was at the
Oy
wedding.
vey.
Yeah, it's been quite a while, but she still keeps up with me. She asks me about everything, and she keeps up with the granddaughters, and yeah, it's pretty nice. So,
Hopefully your Christmas was good. Yeah, we're 12 minutes into the show.
oh
We
my
haven't
God, I
done a
know, I know.
single topic
Well,
yet.
we always want to well, let's start off with the wisdom from Uncle Joe. We got to do that first. He never disappoints, and he will not this week
Yes.
either.
It's Uncle Joe's Wisdom of the Week.
I hope this experience for the speaker has been one of a personal revelation. I'm not being facetious.
Yes.
Anyway,
And when I played this before, it's like, was that pause? Was that filling the depends? I mean, what was going on there? But he's not being facetious one way or the other, and I think I'm impressed.
I appreciate that.
I'm impressed that he still remembers what facetious means, if he does at all. So anyway, and just a fair warning here: we've got a lot of different stories. We have no theme this week. There'll be no good segues, which I pride myself on the segues.
Or bad segues.
Or bad
whichever.
segue. A segue is a segue. You use it to get downtown of Jekyll Island. But anyway, the top story this week seems to be that Maine and Colorado, which Richard just informed me today that Colorado rescinded all this, have both disqualified Trump from being on the primary ballot, citing the 14th Amendment. You said Colorado said, nope, they're just not going to do it.
They put him back on. It's going to the Supreme Court. And my opinion was, I think that they were getting so much flack that if you've ever had a group of people and they're all in agreement on something, you think everybody else is in agreement, right?
Yeah,
If all the friends you have, nobody's dissenting or making any comments to the opposite, You think, well, that's the way everybody thinks. So they went ahead. Yeah, we'll just use that and put that in there.
Yeah.
No,
When you're around
that is
your
not
own,
what it's for. You bastardized something that was meant for the Civil War and not for a president at all. It was only for Congress and Senate and that kind of stuff. And they just took it and went, "Ooh, we can do that." No, you can't. Wait till it hits the Supreme Court. No, you can't.
I honestly had not known that 14th Amendment was, I didn't even know it was a thing up until recently. I mean, I've read through the amendments before, but I didn't remember what all of them said or whatever. But that Section 3, a friend of mine from North Carolina called me the other day and was telling me about the origins, and it was about the Civil War. It was about the Southerners not being able to hold office in the new country or whatever. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But first of all, if he didn't take part of the insurrection. That's the thing that gets me is like, you can go through that.
He's never been convicted of it. He's never been charged with it. It's just been because it's in the news. And these people who are doing this are all uber Democrat. The little gal up in that's Secretary of State, that she has no power to do that. I don't know how she got away with doing it, but she's just the Secretary of State who said, yeah, we're not going to put him on the ballot. Really? And what is your reasoning? And then there's nothing but pictures of her with Biden and Obama. And she's just a hardcore Democrat. And it's like, that's not how it works. We're not a third world country.
But to be fair, and I don't think that this is still outside of her realm of responsibility, but doesn't the Secretary of State oversee the elections of that state? I think that is part of their responsibilities, but I still think that I don't know that this has been done except for Lincoln being taken off the ballot of a primary. I think that's anyway, out of all those 91 charges, like you said, not one was about for leading an insurrection, facing the 400 years in prison, not one of those charges. So he's not been charged or convicted. Secondly, if he's truly a fascist or a tyrant, a racist, a Hitler-esque guy that they're all trying to say he is, then just trot out the evidence and the sound bites and let nature take its course. I mean, if he's truly the bad guy, man, the orange man is so bad. If he's truly that bad guy, then let people see it and make their own mind up. But it seems like every time they charge him with something or they call him a name, it ends up blowing up in their face. So
the talking point now is all he's going to be the worst thing to ever hit democracy. Well, we don't have democracy. We are we are a republic, a democratic republic. People, there is a difference.
And I think that's a lot of it, though. I mean, they just don't want to. They don't want to admit that what they're doing by taking somebody off the primary ballot is actually a threat to our system, as opposed to Trump just being alive a threat to our system. But what the heck do I know? We do have a clip before we go to break. I know we're way over, but the Heritage Foundation gave us some good reasons why this whole thing is unconstitutional, and as well as being a perfect example of the TDS, Trump derangement syndrome.
They are terrific.
Yeah, this is good.
This is a badly judged banana republic election interference. Colorado Supreme Court's decision to remove President Donald Trump from the ballot is a nakedly partisan, anti-democratic decision that ignores the law. And here's 4 reasons why. First, the court invoked Section 3 of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. But individuals who are elected, such as the president, vice president, are not officers within the meaning of Section 3. Second, no federal court has convicted Trump of engaging in insurrection or rebellion. The Senate acquitted Trump of that charge in his second impeachment. Third, some scholars assert that Section 3 doesn't even exist anymore as a legal matter after Congress passed 2 amnesty acts, one in 1872 and one in 1898. Finally, prior court rulings have held that Section 3 is not self-executing, and Congress has never passed any federal law providing for enforcement, meaning that courts have no legal authority to enforce Section 3.
One more thing. I was listening to a radio show last week, and somebody called in and asked this question. I think it's a fantastic question. I want to ask everybody here. It's like, how can you lead an insurrection? Even if he did try to do this, why would you lead an insurrection to the government that you run? He was president, so why would he lead an insurrection to his own
against himself?
Against himself, and that's a great question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But anyway, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Ohio Governor Mike DeWine and how much of a goofball he actually is. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
It's all about common sense and fun. We'll be right back.
It's tough to quit smoking. Just ask any of the 50 million Americans who continue to puff away, even though they know the toll it takes on their health and longevity. When it comes to breaking this lethal habit, the most effective tool is willpower. The American Cancer Society now offers a free video for those smokers who feel they can't quit alone. Call the American Cancer Society today at 1-800-575-2424. That's 1-800-575-2424. Hi, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn. Segment 2, we're going to start off with Governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine. He vetoed a bill last week that would stop gender-affirming care for children. If you don't understand what that means, that actually means giving puberty blockers and having their bits cut off or altered. The bill also would prevent trans people from competing in sports that don't align with their, let's say, chromosomal DNA. So anyway, this is how.
Wow, are we getting technical?
See, I'm not being facetious either. Here's Governor Mike DeWine explaining himself.
And since that time, I've sought out people on all sides of the issue to hear their concerns. I listened to the bill's sponsor, Representative Gary Click, and had a very good conversation with him. I appreciate that he and his colleagues have shined a light on this very important issue. Were I to sign House Bill 68, or were House Bill 68 to become law, Ohio would be saying that the state, that the government knows better what is medically best for a child than the two people who love that child the most, the parents. Now, while there are rare times in the law, in other circumstances, where the state overrules the medical decisions made by the parents, I can think of no example where this is done, where it is not only against the decision of the parents, but also against the medical judgment of the treating physician and against the judgment of the treating team of medical experts. Therefore, I cannot sign this bill as it is currently written. And just a few minutes ago, I vetoed the bill.
Can you say rhino? I mean, this guy's just
RINO, RINO. Anyway.
Yeah, he's and the point he was trying to make is that, the government should not get involved in what the parents and for the most part, blanketly, I believe that. But when it comes to ruining a child's life and possibly altering their choices in the future, choices to have children, choices to breastfeed, or choices, a lot of those choices are taken away once you start down this road.
It's taken away. Yeah, you suddenly, instead of having a full realm of choices to make, you don't.
Exactly.
They no longer exist. It's not like, oh, well, we'll fix that later. No. You don't get that opportunity. It's done did.
No
And to take and mutilate children, that, I'm sorry, until you're 18 years old, then it's your own regret.
Right,
But up until that point, I'm sorry, that's not for you to make. That a kid can't make those kind of decisions. They just can't.
If I had a 13 or 14-year-old come up and my 13 or 14-year-old say that that's what they want, it's like, you know what? Start saving your money now, because when you turn 18 and you are on your own, then you'll have enough money to go ahead and pay for that surgery, because you're not going to find any insurance company to do it. But, to your point, though, you can't have at 14, 15 years old, you can't get a tattoo. You can't drink beer.
Nope.
You can't join the military. You can't drive a car. I mean, but you're okay with chopping your penis off? I've got a problem with that, or at least taking drugs to where things don't develop naturally.
Well, and they're saying that they want to, I want to have a baby. Well, that's a whole set of parts that have to be installed because you can't. And for one, it sure ain't going to happen naturally because a woman's hips are at, what is it, 90 degrees or something? Or maybe it's men's that's 90 and women is 120, so that it makes room
for the birth canal.
Someone had a baby's like a plastic baby skull thing, and they go clink clink, ain't gonna go through a man's head. It's not gonna happen. And the women's boop.
What? How does that sound go again?
Boop. That's how mine were all born.
Wow.
Didn't yours sound like the way when they showed up?
Barbara had a C-section. She's only 5'2", and our baby was 10 pounds 2 ounces. So it's like 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. It just was not going to happen.
Yeah, ours was all, well, the first one was 9.5 pounds, 23.5 inches. So no C-sections in our house.
Poor Barbara. I would never. And they tried to make it all happen. So anyway, remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about CNN commentator Van Jones. He had that little bit of a rant after listening to Vivek, which I guess really kind of set him on his heels. He was so upset. He was shaking. Anyway, to remind you, is a little bit of that.
And the smug, condescending way that he just spews this poison out is very, very dangerous, because he won't stop Trump, but he's going to outlive Trump by about 50 years. And you're watching the rise of an American demagogue that is a very, very despicable person. Yeah. And I was shaking listening to him talk, because a lot of people don't know that is one step away from Nazi propaganda coming out of his mouth.
Be careful.
Well, if this is someone who that's a pot calling the kettle black, as they used to say. It's like, really? You ought to know propaganda, pal.
Well, that's true too. But, never, this may be a lesson to never let your testosterone levels dip that low. To where
he had to go to his safe room.
I mean, just because somebody says something, I've heard you speak before, Van Jones. I've never had to shake because I was just so upset. Anyway, Vivek, during a speech last week, he addressed some of the good points of those silly comments. We had to bleep some of this out, so if all of it didn't get bleeped out, I apologize, but here we go.
We got to open our eyes to see that disease of dishonesty. The same government that has lied to us about not only what happened on 9/11, but the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. About the basis for the 2008 bailouts and the financial crisis, about the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that never was, about the Hunter Biden laptop story, which we absolutely know to be true, about exactly what happened on January 6th, to the origin of COVID-19, to the Nashville transgender shooter manifesto, to how our own money is being spent in Ukraine today. We demand a government that tells us the truth again in this country. That's what we require. We can handle the truth. That's what it means to be a citizen of this country. So I say that on that last debate stage to a bunch of Republicans that are shaking in their boots. These are the things you're not supposed to say in the Republican Party even today. And then you get the mainstream media. You got this character, Van Jones, on CNN afterwards saying, this is the rise of an American demagogue who's going to live 50 years longer than Trump. This is dangerous. I am shaking. That's what he says. Just shut the up. At a certain point, just shut the up. Van Jones at CNN.
Well, he speaks a lot like Trump, doesn't he?
Well, and this is why CNN has gone from big, huge towers. You've been there. You've seen the facility. And they've gone back to the original studio that they started in. It's a little small building outside of town now. Yeah. They're so close to being bottoms up. The only thing I can think of is that Soros is keeping them afloat.
That does make sense because, their numbers don't seem to add up. But when I've been to that CNN, I think there were 2 towers Towers, and there's a big place down at the bottom where they had restaurants and all kinds of stuff. It was a complex. It was beautiful, and they took us upstairs, did a tour through Headline News, and it actually during a broadcast, a live broadcast, somebody was talking to Mike Galanos or somebody was talking, but it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. But to see where they are now, after their heyday, I mean, it's really kind of sad.
Well, all the propaganda stuff that they've done that's been proven propaganda and falsehoods. Who the hell's going to listen to that crap? And that's the majority of, and why newspapers and various other things are just dropping like flies, one after another. Nobody watches the local news anymore.
No,
because they're just as bad. They've got all the same. They're owned by some conglomerate that says you will all say this, which we've seen.
Mm-hmm. We sure have with COVID for sure. That was easily, somebody put that together very easily. It was like 30 stations that they were saying the exact copy and pasted message.
Yep.
But it reminds me of this video. There's a trend on social media, and I wish it would just stop. But I don't know if you heard while Vivek was talking, there's somebody going, yep. It's like there's a trend on social media where they have the clip playing and then they have their face on split screen just pointing towards the video, shaking their head. Yes. It's like, that's, and maybe I'm just old fashioned, but that's just stupid. Why are you doing that? Just to get your face on social media? I just don't. Anyway, that's my little rant. It's my old guy. There's things that drive me crazy of the week. Anyway.
There's a lot of people that's just the woke stuff is not going over. Somebody was saying that the Bud Light thing is, it's kind of blown. No, it hasn't blown over. No. They're in deep duties, and now they're having to deal with a strike that's been voted on and probably going to happen soon, and they just keep digging a deeper hole. They didn't want to apologize, and boy, is it killing them.
I've talked to
all this propaganda stuff is coming back to bite them.
It sure is. Speaking of Bud Light, I talked to a couple of guys I used to work with. Of course, I'd spent 25 years at Budweiser, and they were saying that that the vote ended up being 99% to walk, which that's unheard of. Unheard of. So anyway, that'll be interesting to see that shake out. I think the contract is up at the end of February, so they got a little bit of time left to but they want big things and they need big things. So I mean, definitely with the workers on this one, because Budweiser, since they got bought out, it's an awful place. But anyway, one of our favorite Congresswomen, Harriet Hageman.
Love Harriet.
She since they weren't going to officially censure Adam Schiff, but she did it herself recently. This isn't going to do anything necessarily, but it's good to hear somebody publicly saying what she's saying.
This member's actions were designed to delegitimize the 2016 election and to hamstring the Trump administration. For all the talk about not accepting the election results in 2020, perhaps Democrats and the media, which are mostly one and the same, might want to look at their actions in 2016. To make matters worse, this representative perpetuated these lies while he was chair of the House Intel Committee and consistently implied, if not outright stated, that he had inside information. In that capacity, he lied about how the FBI and DOJ obtained and renewed a FISA warrant. The FBI and DOJ officials did not omit material information from the FISA warrant. How the DOJ used the Steele dossier, what was collected via the FISA warrant, the FBI's vetting process for the Steele dossier, that he had an alleged smoking gun showing that President Trump colluded with Russia. And if each of these claims has proven to be false. But the lies have continued.
He didn't have any smoking gun. If anything, there was smoke coming out of his ears because there's a dumpster on fire in there.
Wow. A smoking gun. Yeah. I think he mistook something else he was smoking, dude. I thought it was a gun.
He is from California, dude. So,
that's true.
Stuff happens.
Oh, Lordy.
Stuff gets lit on fire and everybody gets philosophical, dude. It's going to be... Anyway, we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about ActBlue. If you've never heard of ActBlue, like me, up until recently, then this will be some pretty interesting news. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Kendra Rains, and I love these two old guys. That's why I listen to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast. And you should too.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they going to know?
Talk. They hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
You try.
All right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn. Halfway through, we're starting segment 3. And have you ever heard of ActBlue? I think
No, it's rare that we don't have something that both of us haven't already seen or are familiar with. I've not got a clue, so I'm going to listen.
According to their website, they have raised almost $13 billion online. And for what you ask? Again, according to their website, and this is a quote, our platform is available for Democratic candidates and committees, progressive organizations, and nonprofits. So they're raising money for Democratic candidates for office. So why do we care?
13 billion. Holy crap-a-nollies.
And if I remember correctly, they started in 2004. So it's been a little bit
okay.
Been a little while.
But still.
But why do we care? So, there was a recent investigation into this group, and they found that ActBlue revealed that over 60% of the money donated over the years has come from China.
No, really?
But you would think this would be headline news everywhere. It would. Everybody would be talking about this, but they, of course, are not.
Yeah, gee, what would be the reason? So now I understand why it's ActBlue. It's the blues that, I got it all now. Yeah, you would think that would be in the news. No, maybe Epic Times would have something about it, or some of those Glenn Beck channel, Blaze TV possibly, but not our mainstream propaganda machine.
Definitely not, because I think that's big news, because everybody that, whenever you and I or anybody says that, China is interfering with the elections, or even when they said Russia was interfering back in 2016, turned out to be not necessarily true. If they were interfering, it was for the other side.
Correct.
But
and that's just came out too, by the way.
Yeah, but they like to say that's a conspiracy theory. Oh, China's not involved in it. Well, obviously they are. George Soros is involved. So I don't know if they've come out with hard numbers on that, but it's like he funds a lot of these local DA offices and all the cities in the U.S. Why are they run by such left-wing DAs? Because they are fully funded by the World Economic Forum. Which, obviously you start at the grassroots, and that's how you get things done. And they have been extremely successful. I have to give them props. They know what they're doing when it comes to this stuff. So anyway, is another name that I never heard of before. Her name is Vera Jourova. Giorova. Anyway,
okay, sure.
She's a Czech politician, and exactly why we've never heard of her. But she's also a lawyer, and she has been the vice president of the European Commission for Values and Transparency since December 2019. She had an interesting take on what free speech is, which pay attention.
After Mr. Musk took over the Twitter with his freedom of speech absolutism, we are the protectors of freedom of speech as well. But at the same time, we cannot accept, for instance, the illegal content online and so on. So our message was clear. We have the rules which have to be complied with, and otherwise there will be sanctions. I think that the confidence has been weakened, and I had quite high level of confidence when it comes to Twitter. I have to say that we worked with knowledgeable people, with the lawyers, with the sociologists who understood that they have to behave in some decent way, not to cause really big harm to the society. I always felt that this notion of responsibility was there. So this is what I don't feel from Elon Musk personally, but we will see. He was invited to the European Parliament. I wonder whether it will happen.
This is not good, yeah? See, this is just simple. You will obey what we are telling you, and everything will be fine, yeah?
If you had trouble understanding what the heck she was talking about, she does not like Elon Musk because he is an absolutist when it comes to free speech, which I like that too. But yeah, she says, but there's limitations. We are actually the
yeah, limitate this.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, no, that's what they're doing. Oh, their recent thing in Davos or wherever they're at there is Schwab is up to telling everyone, you must do what we tell you. We are going to have this. Who elected you world leader? Why is it always Germans that do this? What the hell? I don't get this.
That's a good point. You got it's not just him; it's the other guy too. The Great Reset guy. I can't think of his name. You got Charles Schwab. Got I can't think. Klaus Schwab, but I mean, there's another guy too that I can't think of that's with the World Economic Forum. But they're either Austrian or they're German. Yeah, but they always speak the German. It's very, very interesting. Of course, I think Obama had said that Austrians speak Austrian, but they actually speak German. Just to kind of clear that up.
He did. Oh my God.
He did. I actually had that clip saved, and it was on my old computer. I don't have it anymore.
Wow.
Speaking the Austrian language, that's very interesting. So, and all these things just kind of keep happening as we head into that this new year. It's an election year, of course. God knows what's going to happen. I mean, I would not have predicted anything that 2023 had in store for us. But the federal government wanted to forcibly make you comply with a measure, if you remember back in 2020, that keep the old and the young from getting the supposed super flu. Back in August, there was an exchange on the House floor between Jerry Nadler from New York and Chip Roy from Texas. And just to kind of remind us of how this went, this was, I don't think I ever played this clip, but it was fantastic.
When we have a pandemic, like COVID-19 pandemic that we had, 2-year-olds should have been required to wear masks. It would be child abuse for parents not to do that because there was no vaccination available for 2-year-olds. And the only way to protect them against COVID was to have them wear masks.
Well, I'm tempted to yield all my time to the gentleman from New York because he's basically making the case for me more effectively than I can. I want everybody in America to understand what they just heard from the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee in the United States House of Representatives. Your 2-year-old should be forced to be masked. That is what the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee just said here on the floor of the House of Representatives, that the power of the government, the full power of the federal government, should be a part of ensuring and forcing your children, your 2-year-old child, to be masked.
And remember,
Jerry is so on the wrong side of everything. He just like, what? They would use guns against their own country? He's just like, well, we're just going to take everything over. And it's like,
anyway. and I can't help but, and I've seen some memes on this, and we've talked, me and a friend of mine have talked about this previously. It's like, not only does he look like the Penguin from the first Batman movie, he just does. But, he's just so wrong on everything. Like you said, he couldn't be more wrong on this totally. But, they're so focused on vaccines now. Vaccines is the answer. And to me, and I heard a comedian talk about this the other day, if Joe Biden would just stop telling us that we needed to get the vaccine. He goes, he was headed out the door one time when he heard Joe Biden say, you need to go get the vaccine. He goes, wait a minute, something's up. So every time they tried to push it down your throat, the more he was like backing off, because I just don't, there's something weird about this, something amiss. I think you ought to be just careful about any of these vaccines, the RSVs, just all of it. And
what the heck is all of a sudden your old RSV you're going to die from? Where the hell did this come from? And what is? What?
We've been around somebody that had RSV just recently. We were watching babies. They had RSV, and one of them spent a couple nights in the hospital. She was really sick. I mean, they're little breathing tubes are very, very tiny. So any kind of inflammation, it really messes them up. But I mean, we're around them, and we're old, and we're supposed to get it bad. It's not just a cold. I keep seeing these ads for RSV. You need to get a shot. The more they tell me I need to get a shot, the more more wary I am of all this stuff.
That's right. That's why I've not had a flu shot in about 3 years. And now they're pushing you need to get a flu and another flipping booster, because if your blood isn't black rubber goo enough, it needs to have more added to it.
And we are not giving any medical advice. Talk to your doctor. But I'm just saying that you need
For me, no.
God has given us all an immune system. And if yours works, I don't see where there's all this stuff is necessary. I have not, I'm with you. I haven't taken a flu shot in many, many years. I just don't think we need to inject ourselves with things. That's why our immune systems are weaker in some cases, because we have constantly, we've taken antibiotics when we don't necessarily have to. We've taken these vaccines we don't necessarily have to. And it's just, I think it's weakening our immune system. But, that's just my little opinion. I am not telling you what to do. I'm just saying.
These opinions are only ours and not meant as medical advice.
Portions of the previous show has been pre-recorded. Speaking of the super flu, former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura interviewed a lady named Dr. Rena Laibach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw this. This is scary.
Yeah, it is scary. But this was back in 2009. She made some interesting predictions. See if you can figure out what she said.
Very short time, not today, not tomorrow, but very soon, we'll be facing compulsory vaccination under the mistaken term of voluntary vaccination. But the U.S. government has a trick up their sleeve.
Which is?
They will induce a pandemic. You're going to get the flu. Everybody around us is going to get the flu.
If people start dying massively from these inoculations, won't there be like a revolution, a rebellion, a rising up from the peasants?
Only some of us peasants. Apparently only Republicans will rise up.
Yeah.
And not all of them either.
The follow along with the rest of the lemmings as you go off the cliff. Not necessarily Republicans.
Exactly. But, there's still Republicans that are kind of bought into the whole thing, too. It's really, the whole thing is just so sad. I just can't believe people.
Yeah, she was just 11 years ahead of her time.
Yep,
Wow.
Yep. She called it. Absolutely. Now, how she knew that? That's another good question. I don't even know what she was involved with, but she heard some good things, or she heard some bad predictions anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, take that as you will. We have spoken about, and of course we keep going through stories. We have so many stories. It's a brand new year. I
love these segues. Are just like there isn't one. Just go to the next thing.
Non-existent. Portions of these programs have not had a segue yet. We have spoken about the CBDC, or the central bank digital currency, before, and how the rollout will have it replace the currency we have in the U.S. right now. But here's a reporter on Epic TV, I think it was, and he's asking a great question.
Here's a question. Would you let someone implant a microchip into your hand if you would receive $2,000 a month in return for getting a chip put in your hand? You heard me right. We'll give you universal basic income, basically, 2,000 euros, $2,000 a month, if you allow us to put a microchip in your hand. That's exactly what's about to happen as part of the rollout of the central bank digital currencies. That's a carrot for them to rope you into this mess. We'll get to that part of the story in a minute, the chip implantation process, not the corn chip, as Dan said in our chat, but a actual metallic tracking chip. But a new report just published this week by the Bank for International Settlements explains how our new digital money system is about to work. We've been warning you that this was coming for a long time on this show. Also, we weren't the only ones predicting this. It was predicted in a little book, you might have heard of it, called The Bible, The Mark of the Beast. For one thing, this is how this new system would operate. According to them, the Bank for International Settlements, the new reserve currency, forget the dollar as you know it, basically. This will be the new reserve currency, which is how they want to label it and how they are labeling it. This would be used to settle all transactions. As everyone moves away from the US dollar right now, this seems like perfect timing to be moving to this new system.
There was a lot of response to this clip on Instagram, and a lot of people said, "Wow, as soon as you mentioned the Bible, you lost me. You're an idiot," and that kind of thing. But you got to think that the Book of Revelation was written by John 1900 years ago, a little bit more than 1900 years ago, and he predicted through God's inspiration that that's how we were going to pay for things, through something on your hand or something in your forehead. So it's like. I think that should get your attention one way or the other, whether you believe any of it or not. I mean, it's very interesting. So anyway, we're up against another break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about people switching from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party and why in the world that would be happening. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
If you're in our demographic, it might be a good time to go and pee. We'll be right back in just a minute.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Buffett. Save the Manatee Club has helped to protect imperiled manatees and their aquatic habitat for decades, but there's still more work to be done. Threats from cold weather, red tides, pollution, and boat collisions continue to take their toll on the manatee. So let's work together to safeguard the manatees and the places they call home. Be the friend they need. Visit SaveTheManatee.org. Thank you.
Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 4.
I'm sorry.
Before I forget, next week we're going to try to work out where we have a guest in the studio with us, and if Steve can work that out, he's on the phone right now. I think he looks like he's ordering a pizza. I don't know what he's doing in there, but we're going to try to get turn off his microphone.
Just lighten up, will you? He's just giving you a bad time. Jeez, he is so serious about everything.
Anyway, friend of mine.
Go back to your side of the glass. Okay, he's gone now.
If we can work it out, it's a friend of mine, former broadcaster Marty Kopp. He's a really good guy, and he's a lot of fun. So I think that would be a good addition to our show, and we'll explain to you why next week or the week after why we're having different guests. We're going to have somebody else, I think, the week after. So anyway, we have heard a lot of stories on the average everyday people switching to the Republican Party, and maybe it's just happened to be the videos we see on YouTube or whatever. Maybe there's people saying they're switching the other way. I don't know. But we found someone with a unique perspective. This is a lady named Annabella Rockwell. She explains her stance on the Democratic Party that she left.
I walked away from the Democratic Party in 2020, but not until after working on not one but 2 political campaigns for them. So in 2016, I worked for Hillary Clinton, and in 2018, I worked on the Andrew Gillum campaign with some internships sprinkled in between there for my Democratic House representative because, of course, come 2020, I'm watching riots in the street, okay? And it's finally clicking like burning down businesses isn't helping anyone. How are we helping people? Now, that same summer, I had the juxtaposition of seeing the Republican National Convention and the Democratic National Convention. And I remember watching the DNC, and everyone that got up there was like, oh, well, I'm a woman, or I'm black, or I'm a minority. Whereas on the flip, the Republicans, a lot of them looked different, but they just got up there and they were like, yeah, okay, so this is what I stand for, Second Amendment, free speech, let's protect our border, let's lower taxes, let's build up Americans and our capitalist system. And I remember thinking, wow, I have been so brainwashed into thinking I'm a woman, so I have to vote Democrat. And on the flip, if you really think about it, isn't that kind of misogynistic? For me as a woman to be told because you're a woman, you have to think a certain way. Here, come under this umbrella. We're all the others. We're all second-class citizens. We know that Democratic policies don't work. Perhaps in theory, perhaps on paper, they seem like they are more kind, but they're actually not rooted in reality and truth. So I walked away. Thank gosh for 2020.
If you want to listen to some good points on this, look up Candace Owens on YouTube. She's got some great comments on this, saying, just because I was black, I thought that I needed to vote for Democrats, and she got a big awakening too.
Well, and there's another one on PragerU, Amala Ekanubi.
Oh yeah.
She's a very young lady that is extremely bright. She's very smart, and her mother still supports. She was helping with campaigns and going out and young people for Democrats, and boy, she was just doing all the rhetoric. And then one day she looked around and went, "Wait a minute, this is not no." And she is very good to deal with, and her speeches, she lets people. You have something to say, she'll listen to you and have a rebuttal that's not being nasty about it. There was another black lady that, since we're on this subject, that she was a Democrat and for some newspaper or something, and so she went to a Republican rally. She goes, "I was so dreading this, but it was for the story, so I had to go." She said, "I didn't want to hear all this racist and everybody just being rude." She goes, "I was just somebody else that was at a big rally where everything was positive," and she just went, "Well, this is not what we're being told." And so she moved over to the other side.
Sure. Republicans are demonized for that kind of thing all the time, and it's just not true.
It's not true at all. It's all lies. Like right now, the talking point against Trump is that he's going to ruin the democracy, which we don't have anyway. But it's everywhere you hear it, that is what they're saying and what's brought up. It doesn't matter where, doesn't matter what newsroom, they're all saying exactly the same thing again.
And critical minds can hear that and go, they're fear mongering. All they're doing is just trying to make everybody just, vote the way we tell you to vote. You got to trust us, because they are going to try to take it away from you, or just because they're requiring voter ID, or they're pushing for voter ID, which I don't even know what states don't require an ID to vote.
Mostly blue.
And I guess there are some out there, but I've never lived in one, thankfully.
Nope.
But
same here, Idaho. We've had to show an ID to vote for I don't know how long.
Yeah, ever since
I started. You just do it. It's no big deal. Everybody has stuff. And I love when some of these guys are going out. One guy did it, went to essentially downtown Brooklyn and was asking black people as they went by. I'm surprised somebody didn't clock him, but just was wondering, taking a poll, do you have your ID? Well, of course I've got my ID. Yeah. But the Democratic spewing is that black people are too stupid and they're just inept enough that they can't go get an ID. The hell you can't.
Is that not racist in and of itself?
Yes, it is. And some of them are going, that's not right. When you have black leaders in Chicago saying, "Yeah, we want to talk to Trump."
Yeah.
Something's not being done right. They're tired of what's going on. Yeah.
And I think what really pushed them over the edge, and I think that a lot of New Yorkers too, is all the illegal immigration. I think that's at least that is waking some people up and going, you know what, we just can't continue down this road. We can't be like, she did mention one thing on a fun side note. She mentioned working for Andrew Gillum. If you don't know who Andrew Gillum is, he ran for governor against Ron DeSantis back in 2018, and he barely lost. Now, it was a very close race, but he was being investigated for a bunch of shady stuff. And in 2022, he was indicted on 21 felony counts, including wire fraud, conspiracy, making false statements, allegedly diverting money raised during the campaign to a company controlled by one of his top advisors. The guy is just he's in big trouble.
As they say, crooked as a dog's hind leg.
But I think that, when she worked for that campaign, and obviously she might have seen something in there too. I really like that she was good enough to say that, to be honest about why she chose to go over to the Republican side. It's not about being, just because somebody is painted as a Republican doesn't mean they're racist, misogynist, or Hitler-esque or a fascist. Don't believe all that hype. Just think for yourself. It's generally just
wanting freedom, government, leave me alone, and I'll be fine. Yep. I don't want handouts. I will figure out how to make it do on my own, which a lot of people have. They were showing pictures yesterday. Somebody had in Chicago's gotten so bad that there are Hamas people in Hamas gear walking the streets of Chicago doing what they do, looting and whatever else. And they're just openly doing it now. So don't tell me that the stuff coming across the border isn't bad. Oh, we need immigration. Not like that. We don't.
No.
That's why we have laws and rules.
So Hamas is it's not just for Harvard campuses and NYU and all that. So I mean,
yeah.
Boy, that's a whole other story.
You got another fun one here. I love this lieutenant governor of
North Carolina.
Was it North Carolina?
Yeah, North Carolina. Yeah.
Oh, he's awesome. This was one of the best speeches I've heard. I went, whoa, good for you.
He did a great job. Mark Robinson is the lieutenant governor of North Carolina. He was talking about the Second Amendment. So here he is.
Let's just suppose these Antifa people showed up at your house, 15, 30, 40 deep, and all you had was a 6-shot shotgun. Wouldn't make it very long, would you? But if I got an AR-15 with 30, 32 in the clip, and 16 or 20 more clips laying down there on the ground, magazines on the ground, I can hold them all pretty good with that. Hold them all pretty good. You see, people have got the wrong idea about what our Second Amendment is. Our Second Amendment ain't got a thing to do with duck hunting, skeet shooting, or the shooting sports. Not a thing. Our founding fathers didn't just finish a skeet shooting match. They just finished freeing this nation from the most powerful army on earth. The Second Amendment of our Constitution stands for one purpose and one purpose only: to defend this nation against enemies, foreign and domestic, and to ensure that the people of this nation can defend themselves in their homes and keep their freedom, even if that means fighting their own government. Yeah, I said it. And see, elected officials ain't supposed to say stuff like that. Not supposed to. It's not politically correct. But that Constitution I read and the history books I read tell me this: governments who have all the guns and have all the power always become despotic and become a terror to the people.
He is so right. They always become despotic. That is no doubt.
That's one of the best speeches on the Second Amendment I've heard from anybody. That's it in a nutshell, people.
He keeps
it
talking
was
like
not
that.
their skeet shooting. Are you kidding me? Back in the day, they're not going to waste any kind of powder on something that was just for fun. That's not what you did with a gun.
I still think it's wasteful. But he keeps talking like that, though. He keeps giving speeches like that. He's going to be on the national stage, and he should be. He's fantastic. So anyway, we have a palate cleanser. I think we need that. We've got a lot of different flavors going on in our mouth we need to get rid of.
Yeah, it's just not really not good. Yeah. So this is something I found since I'm moving it over so I can read it in front of my face and not sideways.
Let me get my glasses on and see if I can see that.
This is kind of a Paul Harvey type story where the wife finds these and she sends them to me. I think it's from a site on Facebook, people you may not have heard about, but probably should. So she sent that and I started reading it and went, wow, I never heard anything about this. So this is about Ida and Louise Cook. So let's see how we get through this. They were unmarried sisters in their mid-30s who lived with their parents. One wrote romance novels for Mills and Boon, which is England's Harlequin equivalent, if you will. And the other commuted from their sleepy London suburb to work as a secretary for the civil service. They wore homemade clothes and shared a love of opera. They loved opera so much that they would go to Germany for the weekend just to see the opera there in the 30s. If anybody is listening to the timeline, not a good time to go to Germany.
No,
so
something was going on there. I forgot what it was. Yeah.
No one paid attention to them crossing the border, a couple of dowdy old women in their homemade clothes, nor on the return trip with their furs and jewels. What Ida and Louise were doing, in addition to going to their beloved opera, of course, was collecting valuables from would-be refugees who helped them in their new lives. The sisters would find people who would vouch for the refugees, find people willing to home them, assemble papers for them, and even rented an apartment as a temporary space for refugees just arrived. The sisters used their own money for this, so the refugees could sell their valuables for money to help them settle in. The women entered and left through different checkpoints, so the same guards maybe, wouldn't be able to notice their sudden acquisition of too much jewelry and furs, and created a lie about the valuables in their purses as, oh, well, we can't leave them in our apartment when we aren't there. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? They acted simple and foolish and were never caught. They did eventually halt their visits over the border after directly rescuing 29 people, mostly families. But they did not stop working. They continued to raise money and awareness and to help refugees in England. The sisters were honored as righteous among the nations of Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Remembrance Center, in 1964. Ida wrote a memoir that was republished as Safe Passage in 2008. And she plays down their role, saying that what they offered wasn't much. In exchange for saving lives, they only needed some trouble, some eloquence, and some money. That's just it. They were just doing it because they felt it was the right thing to do, not for any political reasons or what. There's just something that they felt like they needed to do. So they had things figured out. Yeah. And if you see a picture of these women, they look like, remember the two sisters in Arsenic and Old Lace?
Oh, okay. Okay.
The two sisters in that, if you've ever watched the old, those two little, they were just, we've got another victim. Well, we have another. They're just doing it because that's what they do.
Perfect cover.
So they just, they look so unassuming. Why would you think anything else? Yeah. And I just thought that was really a cool story. My wife found it and sent it, and so I got to use it today.
There were a lot of unsung heroes from World War II that did very similar things, and or at least even before World War II. Because there was a lot of you want to talk about fascism. I mean, that's a perfect picture of fascism is Germany from the 1930s. So anyway, we hope you were somewhat informed, and that was a great story there at the end, and had fun like we did. I think we laughed way too much. And we'll work on that. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And of course, there's always our website, stayoffmylawn.us, for all of our past and present episodes.
And we will see you next week in episode 51, folks.
Woohoo! We're getting almost to a year. See you later. Doodles. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Well, mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.